Hi there, I'm Bob and I'm doing the Old Testament, get that right, Old Testament reading for today. And we're in the book of Jeremiah. So we're starting this new book today, which so Jeremiah is what we would refer to as a major prophet. So he's writing quite a lot here. And Jeremiah is also known as the weeping prophet. So get your tissues ready, because it's not going to be a happy read. But what he has to say, we need to hear as well. And Jeremiah ends up basically saying the same message over and over and over again to God's people on behalf of God. And for something like, I think it's something like 20-something years, he says the same thing over and over and over again in different ways. And the people basically don't listen to what he says, and that will kind of unfold as you go through the book. But it starts off, I'm just going to miss chapter 1 for a minute and just start with a bit of what he's saying in chapter 2. So it's quite an interesting way that he phrases some of this stuff, or that God's speaking to his people, because he says, has a nation ever changed its gods? This is verse 11 of chapter 2. But my people have exchanged their glory for worthless idols. And then be appalled at this, O heavens, and shudder with great horror, declares the Lord. And then he says, my people have committed 2 sins. They have forsaken me, the spring of living water, and they have dug their own cisterns, broken cisterns that cannot hold water. And God's saying, basically, through Jeremiah, and this is kind of at the root of all that he's saying, is that, first of all, you've forsaken me, you've walked away from me, and I am the thing that brings life. I am the one true living God, and you've walked away from me. And even worse than that, you've decided to make your own gods, your own things, your own idols that you want to worship. And no other nations do that. And it's like this horrible thing that God's watching his people do, where other nations have other gods, and that's bad enough in itself. But he's saying they don't change them. You guys have a God, a living God, and yet you've forsaken him, and you've changed what who you worship. You've changed your God, and that's the message that Jeremiah brings, basically calling the people back from that again and again and again. But I love the beginning, because Jeremiah's obviously young, and he says to God, when God says, I'm going to give you these things to say, or I'm going to give you something to say, he's like in verse 6, oh sovereign Lord, I do not know how to speak, I'm only a child. And there's something in that which I think a lot of us can relate to, where we feel like maybe God's given us a task or a dream or a vision, and we feel like we're too young to do it. We're not qualified, we haven't done our time yet, we don't know enough, or whatever else that is. And God says to Jeremiah, do not be afraid, for I am with you, and I will rescue you, declares the Lord. And there's this I love this thing, because Jeremiah must have this total dependency on God, because he knows he's not enough on his own. He knows he's got to go to God for everything that he needs, for every word he's got to say, to very important people, and he knows it's only God who can rescue him in those places. And Jeremiah has this task, to tear stuff down and to plant new things and to build new things as well. And sometimes in our lives we have to do that, to tear stuff down that needs to come down, and to plant new things in the season of change. There you go.